Welcome to Rich Planet TV. I'm Richard D. Hall. Are you sick of watching the dross on mainstream TV? The dross documentaries, the dross soap operas, the dross news programs and the dross dramas? Well, don't throw your TV out of the window just yet, because there is something you may be able to help me with. A few weeks ago I pointed out that many of these sorts of programs are probably being used as tools of subversion and demoralization, with the vast majority of viewers having no clue about what is going on. What do I mean by subversion? Well, I mean destroying someone's honesty or loyalty, undermining their moral integrity, planting false beliefs and prejudices in their heads which would not otherwise exist, with the intention of destabilizing society and thus dumbing down the population. In a moment I'm going to show some more of a recent lecture I gave about this subject, but before that I need your help with this issue. I'm starting a Rich Planet league table of the most subversive shows on television. So if you want to suggest which programs you think are being subversive and why, please go to this link where you can post your suggestion and tell me which TV program you think is the most deviously manipulative on television. I will then compile a league table of TV shows which are considered by viewers to be the most dangerous to the mind and being used to subvert. If you need some advice on where to start, why not try Channel 5's documentaries, which are a cesspit of half-truths and use highly selective editing to present blatantly orchestrated semi-fictional narratives as some kind of real-life documentary. I'd rather watch cack. On today's show I will also be screening some more of the Tony Bennett interview, who is going to be talking about police corruption. But before that, do you live in Scotland? Will you be voting on Scottish independence later this year? Just ask yourself this question. Independent of what exactly? Independent of UK powers? I would argue that it is far from clear who actually currently governs the UK. And until you can define exactly who is running the show, how can you possibly have a vote to be independent of it? In my humble opinion, somewhere near the top, but not necessarily the very top, lies the British monarchy. Mixed in with this, you might say there is US influence, there is influence from Rome and the EU, there is influence from whoever owns the Bank of England, there is influence from certain families, and undoubtedly influence from secret societies such as Freemasons. Now, supposedly below the monarchy we have the intelligence services, who operate above the law and are therefore immensely powerful, and allegedly control vast sections of the media. Also below the monarchy is the legal system. Also below the monarchy is the army, the navy and the air force. Also below the monarchy is the Church of England, but possibly not the Church of Scotland. And also below the monarchy are our hapless puppet politicians, who in my opinion have less power than all of the above. So if a country is going to become independent of the UK, it needs to be independent of all of the above, including, most importantly, the monarchy. Independence indeed. It's like kids in a PE class picking football teams for a PE lesson when they all know in the back of their minds the schoolmaster is in charge. The real power lies outside of both the puppet Scottish Parliament and the puppet UK Parliament. We need to somehow cut the strings instead of just picking new puppets. Anyway, on with the show. Here's a recap on Soviet subversion techniques. I was listening to a talk by Brian Gerrish the other day, and he was talking about Soviet subversion techniques, how in the Soviet Union they were trying to demoralize the population so that they would become subservient to the state. And this guy Yuri Bezmenov has done lectures and produced pamphlets on the techniques. I think he's a former KGB guy. And he explains how it goes through demoralization, destabilization, crisis and normalization. So Brian Gerrish has this slide up on his screen, and what he's saying is, he's reading this Soviet subversion manual and he's saying, hang on, this is Britain today. And he went through each one, and I'm thinking, hey, there's a lot in this. So I'm just going to point out some of these Soviet subversion techniques. The first 15 to 20 years is demoralization, where they're trying to demoralize the public to make them subservient to the state. Now I think in the Soviet Union they were depriving people of material wealth in order to demoralize them. I think it's a little bit different here, because I think, as I said, they deprived people of material wealth. Here they're making people worship material wealth, lock them into consumerist materialism, and then perhaps push up levels of debt and get people demoralized that way. But let's have a look at some of these techniques. In the area of ideas, education, create permissiveness, which is a lack of rules, which means you get people coming out of education who are ignorant. They don't know what's going on. In the media, monopolize. I think we can all agree that our mainstream media is monopolized. Manipulate, discredit, focus on non-issues, and you create an uninformed myopia. Myopia meaning you're not aware of the big picture. You can't really see what's going on. In culture, create false heroes and role models. Premier League footballers, pop idol. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Structure. In law and order, focus on legislative, not moral, and create a mistrust in justice. I think a lot of people in this audience would agree there's a mistrust in justice. Now this next one, damage social relations to create less individual responsibility. I've noticed recently on mainstream documentaries and in news reports, they seem to be focusing again and again on exposure of bad behaviour. So in old people's homes they're saying, oh, they're being abused. Or the BBC website the other day, on their main website, the main news website, there was a video clip. You click on it and it's a guy kicking a wheelie bin down the street coming home from the pub. Why do we need to see that bad behaviour? And I think there's an element of monkey see, monkey do with this constant putting out of bad behaviour. There was a BBC News 24 item the other day, woman standing outside the court, and the newscaster kept going back and forwards to her while she read out these three people's crimes who supposedly had been mistreating people in an old people's home. And again and again and again she said, oh, this woman tipped an old lady out of the wheelchair. She tipped her out of the wheelchair. And they kept going, they hadn't passed sentence on these three. The point I'm making is that they were driving home repeatedly bad behaviour. And I think that, as I say, there's an element of monkey see, monkey do. And I'll give you an example. In schools they run anti-bullying campaigns. Okay? The first thing they do on an anti-bullying campaign is they teach the children how to spot signs of bullying. So what you're doing when you do that, you're actually teaching the child how to bully. Now I'm not saying all kids will then go and bully, but a lot of them will, or some of them will. A small percentage will. So by presenting bad behaviour all the time in our media, I think psychologically there's a small percentage of people will take on that bad behaviour. Just consider that when you're watching some of the crap that's on mainstream TV. Now in life, this Soviet subversion manual is saying break up the family and break up society so that they create no loyalty and that the loyalty is to the state. So let's just look at society first, and let's consider that you are a brick in this wall. All these bricks are people in society. We've got a wall which is functioning. This is what they were trying to do in Soviet Russia. They were trying to fracture society so that you become dependent on the state. Now, how are you going to fracture society? Well, I think one idea would be to identify groups within society that can be separated from the rest of society and make them war with each other. Make society hate particular groups, create fractures in that wall, and then knock out groups of people in that wall. So let's just think of a group that we're going to alienate from society in order to fracture it, demoralize society, to make them dependent on corporations and the state. How are we going to do it? Let's choose a group at random. Benefit claimants, perhaps. Okay? So all the green bricks in this wall are benefit claimants. How are we going to demonize them and fracture them from the rest of us? Well, this is how they're doing it.
Julie and Vinny Bienvenue are also experts on life on the dole.
I need a bit.
No.
I really need a bit. Yeah. I need a bit.
These newlyweds are part of Britain's record number of long-term unemployed. No work for more than 6 years. And their only hard graft is working the system.
People find it easier to live off the government because they get most of the things paid for them. And yeah, it is easy doing that. And then you got people that don't want to work and can't be asked, and they find it easy to claim benefit, and I don't know how they justify that. I'm in that position, yeah. I'll hold my hands up, yeah.
At the end of the day, you'd be better off going for the VIP one because it's included.
Julie and Vinny want more. Julie gets sickness benefit, 310 quid a fortnight. All of Vinny and Julie's 9 children are living on benefits. They're the next welfare generation. Julie has to ring up the dole office to check just how much cash they've got coming in.
But can you possibly tell me how much will be going into my bank, please?
And with unexpected cash in the bank, it's time to spend.
Hopefully I can get me money out.
But they spend more on fags and their TV package than they do on food and other basics. Housing benefit is one of the largest chunks of Britain's welfare bill.
The cheeky twat.
Vinny has secured the new home they wanted in the space of just a few days.
Fucking lift up.
I'll have a coffee.
Julie hasn't had a job for 6 years. But the future's bright for Julie and Vinny in Liverpool. It's an arrangement that somehow gets them more benefits. And the cable TV man is back. So, spirits are high. Short of getting a job, life couldn't be rosier.
Right, now there's been series after series of these type of programmes, and it's been covered in mainstream newspapers as well, demonising people on benefits. Now, if you don't think there's absolute manipulation going on in that programme, just have a look at this. This is the poster that Channel 5 used to try and recruit people for this series of documentaries. It says, Channel 5, what is life really like on benefits? Channel 5 is making a new documentary series looking at what life is really like when you are on benefits. Do you struggle to survive? Are there no jobs in your hometown? Do you think the system is generous enough? It doesn't say, are you on benefits and proud, which was the title of the programme. If they'd put that on this advert, no one would have taken part, because I don't believe anyone is on benefits and proud. All right? Absolute manipulation. That couple and all the other people who are taking part in these documentaries are being duped to take part. This is Soviet subversion techniques.